Hi, my name is Stephen Cotorobles, and I'm the founder and executive director of the Tucson Family Food Project, a nonprofit dedicated to fighting one of the most important and heartbreaking issues plaguing our community: childhood food insecurity. Today I want to talk to you about the real-life consequences of children who don't get enough to eat. Consequences that go far beyond a rumble in a child's stomach. And then I'm going to tell you about a brand new approach to give these kids their best chance of living a happy and healthy life and break the cycle that sees so many kids suffering from food insecurity grow into adults that suffer from food insecurity. And the core of that idea is built on a well-known saying: give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for the rest of his life. Now, I want to tell you a story that was told to me by a friend of mine. And this story is actually at the core of why I started the Tucson Family Food Project. My friend is a teacher, and at this time, he was a teacher at a more affluent school in a more affluent district, and he had a class of about 30 kids. And despite the fact that he was teaching at an affluent school in an affluent district, of those 30 kids in his class, 3 were on free lunch. But my friend noticed that these 3 students had something else in common. Something all 3 of them did on a daily basis. Something my friend noticed, but he could never figure out why they were doing this thing, until he asked one of them. Now, this class had a really awesome daily ritual. They would all eat breakfast in class together. But my friend noticed that these 3 kids, the only kids in his class who were on free lunch, would all put their breakfast in their backpacks. They would never eat breakfast with their class. So one day my friend asked one of the 3, "Why don't you ever eat breakfast with the class? Why do you always put your breakfast in your backpack?" And the student's response: "I want to make sure I have something to eat for dinner." Studies show that food insecurity affects 1 in every 6 children. So the 3 kids in my friend's class of 30 is actually, heartbreakingly, well below the average. But let's go back to our 3 students. Our students who are walking around all day with their breakfast in their backpacks. I want to tell you how their experience in school is going to be different than their classmates who don't have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. Now, each of our 3 students falls somewhere on this scale. This is the FIES, or the Food Insecurity Experience Scale. Food insecurity, like so many things, is a spectrum, and this ranges from food security or mild food insecurity all the way to severe food insecurity, where you've gone a day or more without food. Now, our students fall right here: reducing food quantity or skipping meals, skipping breakfast to make sure they can have dinner, only one step away from being severely food insecure. Now, here are the physical consequences these children can expect to encounter in their daily lives: aggression, lower nutrient intake, cognitive problems, anxiety, anemia, obesity, especially in girls, and perhaps most alarming, chronic illness. And here's what they can expect to encounter in their time in school. They're more likely to be suspended, more likely to repeat a grade, they'll have higher absence rates, they'll perform worse on standardized testing, and they will have a limited chance at long-term academic success. When a child is not getting enough nutrition, their brains won't even let them sit still and behave, much less absorb the material. Not only that, but decreased nutrient intake can directly impact increased rates of mental health problems, depression, and diabetes. And when they get out of school, the obstacles they've had to deal with will limit the kinds of jobs they'll be able to apply for, and studies have shown that they will go on to make less money in their lifetimes than their classmates who are food secure. Add on to that their chronic health problems and accompanying healthcare costs, and you end up with the one thing we know for a fact that leads to more food insecurity and is the direct cause of all of this: poverty, starting the whole cycle all over again. This is what makes fighting food insecurity so difficult. But I'm here to tell you, it doesn't have to be this way. Childhood food insecurity in Tucson is a problem we can end in our lifetime. Sounds impossible, right? Well, let me share with you one of my favorite quotes. It always seems impossible until it's done. But here's the thing. If we want to have any chance of giving these kids a happy and healthy life and ending this incredibly vicious cycle, we have to change what we're doing because time has proven that it just doesn't work. In fact, the problem is only getting worse. Now, giving these kids and their families food right now to address their immediate food insecurity is of the utmost importance. But we all know that providing 1 or 2 meals is not going to fix the underlying problem, and it's not a sustainable, long-term solution. So what is? Give a man a fish, feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, feed him for the rest of his life. Ladies and gentlemen, I propose that we don't simply feed these kids. I'm proposing that we teach them to feed themselves. And at the Tucson Family Food Project, that's exactly what we're already doing. Every Friday, we provide the kids in our program with a meal kit that will feed at least 4 people. This way, we don't just feed the child, but we feed the household. Now, you may have heard of similar programs like this before, but here's where the Tucson Family Food Project is different. The meal kits we provide to our students aren't simply handed out for them to eat. They're given to them raw. Through detailed recipes and instructions, as well as our YouTube channel, which is specifically designed for the kids to follow along with, they learn how to cook the meal kits themselves. Every week, our students are in the kitchen getting a real-world lesson, how to prepare food, an absolutely essential life skill, a life skill that unfortunately schools aren't teaching anymore. At the Tucson Family Food Project, we're teaching them about nutrition, we're teaching them kitchen skills, and ultimately, we're teaching them how to be self-sufficient human beings. Studies show that cooking at an early age can help kids develop math concepts, build language skills, build their self-confidence, and lay the foundation for healthy eating habits for the rest of their lives. Not to mention providing them with the nutrition necessary for them and their developing brains to get the most out of school, giving them a chance of being successful in our ever-changing modern world. Now, I'd like to break down the math for you of how we're able to do this and what we need to grow the program throughout Tucson. The average cost of our meal kits that will feed at least 4 people, is $4. That's it. $4 per child per week. That means that a donation of just $20 per month can feed 1 child and their family this much food. That's 1 month of food for the families in our program. That's what we can do with $20 a month and have money left over to help us keep the lights on. $20 a month to feed a child and their family and teach them how to feed themselves. And here's how we do it. Every week, we get a donation of fresh, seasonal produce items from our friends at Pivot Produce. They are a really amazing company here in Tucson that makes sure that farmers are able to sell all of their crops and nothing goes to waste. And they've become great partners with us. So every week, we get a donation of incredible produce that we base our recipes on. That means we're serving the kids some of the most nutrient-dense foods available. So every Tuesday, we develop a recipe with our donated ingredient, and every Wednesday, me and an absolutely amazing team of volunteers preps and packages up the meal kits. On Thursday, we film our YouTube video for the kids to follow along with. Then on Friday, the meal kits are delivered for the kids to take home and make. We do this every week, free of charge to the families or the schools. And every week, our kids are in the kitchen getting a lesson in real life. Now, we do our deliveries on Fridays because so many kids use free school lunch as their primary source of food. By delivering on Fridays, we can make sure they're getting food on the weekends when free school lunch isn't available. We started our program last year feeding 20 families every week. This year, we are currently at 103, with plans to expand to 253 by the start of next school year. That's where we are now. Here's where we want to go. Eventually, we want to provide meal kits for every 6th, 7th, and 8th grader in the greater Tucson area. And just like the kids, we want to make the Tucson Family Food Project as self-sufficient as possible by creating our own growing program where we'll actually be growing all of the vegetables we use. We want to expand access to our meal kits by making some for younger kids, where they would partner with a parent, and some for high school age kids, where they will learn knife skills and more advanced techniques. And ultimately, for our students who discover they have a passion for food, like I know so many of us do, we want to offer job training and placement, not just ending the cycle of food insecurity, but starting a whole new cycle of success. The Tucson Family Food Project doesn't just want to feed these kids. We want to give them the ability to feed themselves by teaching them one of the most important things in human history, how to feed yourself. We are giving them something that they can take with them and use throughout their lives to fight food insecurity and give them their best chance of living the life we all want, a life that's happy and healthy, a life where they can come out of school prepared to enter the modern workforce and be ready to face all of the challenges this world is going to throw at them. Now, the Tucson Family Food Project is my life's work. It's my passion. And I always tell people I'm working 10 times harder, I'm making 10 times less, and I'm 10 times happier. And I literally sold my house to get TTFFP off the ground. But the fact of the matter is that the Tucson Family Food Project isn't mine. It's yours. Nonprofits don't belong to a person. They belong to the communities that they serve. It's one of the first things I learned when I started this. But it's exactly why I knew it would work. Because I know Tucson. I know how much love there is in this community. I know how many people want to help their neighbor, not hurt them. And I know how many of us want to help feed hungry kids. Childhood food insecurity is a massive problem. It affects our healthcare system, our educational system, our criminal justice system, and the job readiness of an entire generation. And it affects our most innocent and vulnerable. But it doesn't have to. It always seems impossible until it's done. Well, I'm here to tell you, it's not impossible. We can change the lives of thousands of kids in Tucson. But the only way we can do it is together. Thank you. Peace.